Some people grow up with a rule they never agreed to. The quieter you are, the safer you are. You learn it without anyone sitting you down and teaching it. You learn it by watching faces, by listening to doors, by feeling the air change in a room. And eventually, being the good kid doesn't feel like a personality. It feels like a survival skill. Let me show you what I mean. They were so small, their height didn't even reach the kitchen counter, but somehow their presence felt louder than everyone else's. Not because they were making noise, but because they knew exactly when to make none at all. That night, a glass slipped and hit the floor. The sound of it, sharp and bright, cut through the house like a warning. In the bedroom, their mother said something that wasn't really a sentence, more like a broken breath that wanted to turn into a cry, but couldn't. In the hallway, their father took a few steps. Heavy steps. The kind you can measure with your body before your mind catches up. The child stood by the half-open kitchen door, and before anyone even looked at them, they made a decision. Today, I'm going to be good. But good didn't feel like turning on a light. It felt like turning themselves off. A few minutes later, they moved quietly toward the broom. The handle was bigger than their hands, but they already knew how to fit into things that were too big for their age. They picked up the shards carefully, trying not to let them clink. Their voice came out soft. "It's okay. I'll clean it up." And to make it believable, they added a small smile. A smile with nothing to do with happiness. It was a shield. Their mother looked at them and said, "Oh, honey, you're such a good kid." And right there, in a moment that seemed harmless, the child learned something that can follow you for years. Sometimes love feels like a reward for disappearing. Here's the part most people miss. This kind of good kid isn't really about manners. It's not simply about being polite. It's about what happens to a child's nervous system when home doesn't feel steady. When a house is unpredictable, when the emotional weather can shift fast, your body learns to stay ready, not ready for play, ready for impact. Your brain has an internal alarm system, and in a calm, safe home, that alarm doesn't run the show. A kid gets to be a kid. They get to explore, make noise, take up space, mess up, repair, try again. But in a home where anger, silence, addiction, volatility, or emotional absence is always in the background, the alarm learns to stay on. So you start scanning. You read the room before you speak. You listen to footsteps like they're a forecast. You notice the silence between two sentences, because silence can mean anything. That constant scanning has a name: hypervigilance. It doesn't mean you're dramatic. It means your body learned to treat uncertainty like danger. And over time, it starts looking like a personality trait. People say you're so mature, so responsible, so easy, so independent. You never cause problems. What they don't see is that underneath that praise, your body might be braced. Breath a little tight, shoulders a little raised, a mind that never fully unclenches. At school, kids like this often do well, not only because they're smart, but because they're careful. They follow rules. They don't want to disappoint anyone. If a teacher frowns once, their body reacts like something serious just happened, because their system learned a long time ago. Small signals can lead to big consequences. When you're young, the part of your brain that helps you slow down and talk yourself through things is still developing. So when your alarm goes off, you don't reason your way out of it. You react. You adapt. You become incredibly good at preventing trouble, preventing conflict, preventing anger, preventing being too much, preventing being the reason the mood changes. And then, at night, when the house finally goes quiet, your body gets a chance to tell the truth. Maybe it's stomach aches that never show up on a test. Maybe it's insomnia. Maybe it's nightmares you can't explain. Your mind keeps running in the dark, replaying conversations, checking for mistakes, rereading your day like you're trying to find the moment you messed up. That's when you realize something painful. Being the good kid doesn't always create peace. Sometimes it only creates silence. And silence, when it isn't chosen, is just loneliness wearing a different outfit. Years pass, the child grows up, but the survival skill stays. It just changes clothes. In your 20s or 30s, you might become the person everyone relies on. At work, you're the one who holds things together. You smooth tension. You stay late. You take responsibility quickly. Sometimes too quickly. In groups, you're a great listener. You remember what people like, what hurts them, what they need. You can sense the mood before anyone names it. But when it's your turn, when you need something, the words get stuck. Not because you don't have needs, because your body still believes having needs is risky. And in relationships, this shows up in a very specific way. You don't just love. You manage love. You work for love. You explain. You apologize. You fix. You overthink. You try to keep the emotional temperature comfortable, the way you once did in a house that could swing hot or cold without warning. If your partner is upset, your mind snaps to an old question. What did I do? That reaction isn't a character flaw, it's a nervous system pattern. When you grow up feeling like affection depends on how well you behave, how helpful you are, how little space you take, you start carrying an internal map that says, if I'm useful, they'll stay. This is where people-pleasing often comes from, not from kindness, from fear. Some therapists call it the fawn response. When you sense threat, you become extra agreeable to stay safe. And here's another truth that's harder to say out loud. A lot of good kids grow into adults carrying quiet anger, not explosive anger, quiet anger. The kind that sits behind your ribs, the kind that turns into resentment, into exhaustion, into numbness. Because you spent years being flexible, understanding, forgiving, managing, and nobody really asked what it cost you. Sometimes you can't even relax in good moments. Even when things are fine, your body is waiting, because your nervous system paired calm with suspicion. When everything is peaceful, a part of you asks, okay, so when does it go wrong? That's the bitter paradox of growing up too fast. Peace can feel like anxiety simply because peace wasn't familiar. From the outside, your life can look successful. People call you strong, capable, grounded, but inside, there might still be a child behind glass. A child who didn't get to laugh for no reason, play for no reason, be loud for no reason. A child who learned that joy has to be earned. In trauma work, there's a simple idea that helps explain this. Your window of tolerance. It's basically the zone where your body can feel emotions without going into panic or shutting down. If you grow up under chronic stress, that window can get smaller. So you either get activated quickly, anxious, tense, controlling, or you shut down, numb, disconnected, spaced out. You might think, this is just who I am, but a lot of the time, it's just your body running an old program. And then one day, something small happens, and suddenly you see the whole pattern. Your partner says, casually, I don't really feel like talking tonight. It's a normal sentence, but your stomach drops. Your chest tightens. Your mind starts writing a script at lightning speed. They're tired of me. They're leaving. I'm not enough. From the outside, it can look like an overreaction. But from inside your nervous system, it's completely logical because your body isn't responding to tonight. It's responding to history. And if you're lucky, a different moment follows, not a dramatic breakthrough, more like a small, quiet light. You ask yourself, why is it so hard to just be me? Why do I always feel like I have to stay on guard? And behind that question, the older images start to appear. The broken glass, the broom, the fake smile, the praise, you're such a good kid. You realize something that can change everything. Being good wasn't always a choice. Sometimes it was an unspoken deal you made to survive. I won't be a burden, and you won't leave me. This is one of the most important shifts you can make, moving from shame to understanding. Shame says, something is wrong with me. Understanding says, something happened to me, and I adapted. That doesn't erase the pain, but it changes the way you relate to yourself. A lot of people want to jump straight into fixing, but the first step in healing usually isn't fixing. It's witnessing. It's letting yourself say, yeah, that was real. That affected me. I didn't make it up. I don't need to minimize it to deserve compassion. Because when you keep telling yourself, it wasn't that bad, or other people had it worse, you're repeating the same old survival move, making yourself smaller so no one gets upset, even if the someone is just an old memory. On the way back to yourself, there's a sensitive point. Your body has to learn that having needs doesn't equal danger, and your body doesn't learn through lectures. It learns through experience. One pause before you say yes. One sentence like, let me think about it. One request that doesn't end in punishment. One moment of being honest without losing love. One cry without shame afterward. These moments look small, but to your nervous system, they're huge. Because every time you step outside the old pattern and you survive, your brain records something new. This is different now. And no, this path isn't always pretty. When you start unclenching, old pain can spill out. Grief can show up. Grief for the childhood you didn't get. Anger can show up. Anger that no one said, you're just a kid. Even envy can show up when you see children who were allowed to be free. None of that means you're breaking. It means parts of you that were locked away are coming back online. And the ending of this story usually isn't cinematic. It's ordinary. It's an evening. You come home after a heavy day. You sit down. You turn off your phone. And for the first time, you don't earn rest by being useful. You just sit. At first, your body fights it. It says, get up, do something, fix something, make someone happy, because that's what kept you safe. But then, gently, you tell yourself, I don't have to perform right now. And in that quiet, the 7-year-old shows up, the one standing by the broken glass with a broom. And this time, you say what no one said back then. You didn't deserve that. You were just a kid. You don't have to disappear to be loved. If you were the good kid, this might feel like a mirror. It might soothe you and sting you at the same time. Mirrors do that. But on the other side of the sting, there's a possibility, separating being good from disappearing. Because kindness is beautiful when it comes from freedom, not fear. You don't have to erase the past. The goal is that you don't have to live it again. And maybe the real meaning of growing up isn't becoming tougher. Maybe it's finally letting that old child breathe, play, be seen, not as a little caretaker, not as a tiny adult, but as a small human who deserved to be loved for no reason at all.